We are here at the Brexit Summit Part 2. People may remember that once the referendum had concluded, the Bishop Tim and myself came together to draw the wider community in an aim to try to bring some cohesion and some cooperation to the response to the referendum vote. What the summits are doing is looking at how coming out of Europe will affect the people of Cornwall. And therefore we are looking at those elements that will affect them. So, for instance, migratory workers, staff in tourist industry and in care and industry, the fishing industry, how will that cope post-regulation, how will the farming industry deal with any new regulations that come in, things like bathing water directives which come from Europe. How do we make sure that we sustain that quality and so on? So they are practical ideas to deal with practical risks and opportunities that come out of coming out of Europe.
Well, I think the sense of momentum and progression is really important because these issues are coming toward us quite quickly now, both nationally and locally. And the thing that I'm really pleased about and delighted to be part of is the growing sense of partnership. There's no one agency or institution or community that has all the wisdom on these issues. And I think that what we're beginning to discover is a way of working together across boundaries and in new combinations for the good of Cornwall.
Well, I think the important thing about today, obviously there's a lot of focus on investment from Europe, particularly in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, who have by far the largest per capita, per person investment across the UK. So the funding is really important. But today, and the work that Cornwall Council has been leading on the implications of the Brexit decision, actually go much wider than that, and they look at what impact there might be for both business, the public sector, and all of us as individuals, what impact that actually might have in Cornwall for any changes in law or policy or regulations. And also, some of those other opportunities that link to economic growth, like what will trade look like in the future? What type of intervention can the public sector make in business opportunities that they can't currently do because of European law? So it's quite a broad debate, but it's really, really important that as wide a range of partners are around the table discussing those issues, being clear about what that means for Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, and that where possible, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly is speaking with one voice to government about what's important for us going forward.
Part of that referendum and the vote there was people saying, actually, we don't feel a part of this. This is not working for us. We're not happy with the elite, with the establishment. Now, that's an assumption in part, but what we're trying to do is test that out and see whether that's real. And actually, can we come up with things and try and get back to a feeling of inclusiveness, Cornwall for one and all, and that's really where we're at.
I think the role of the EU in environmental regulation and protection has been important over the last 50 years, but it hasn't all been good, and some of the things that the EU was driving in the 70s was actually very harmful to the environment. What really matters is having a higher power. Who's overall in charge? Who's looking over your shoulder? Right now, Brussels looks over London's shoulder. So if we're bringing those powers back to the UK, the interesting question is going to be, how much power and responsibility do we bring down to Cornwall? And how much do we leave in London so that London is the higher power? And so if we have got these conversations going on this morning about what feels right about higher power, it's basically who guards the guards. Who's making sure that we do what we say we want to do? That's the key thing about this regulation post-Brexit. Right now, we imagine somebody in Brussels is going to check that we are doing what we said we would do. In the future, that won't be Brussels. That will be in Westminster. So let's work out what we want to be responsible for in Truro and Bodmin and in Cornwall, and what we want to ask Westminster to check for us.